Welcome everyone. Kevin here with Matt. I used to try to pronounce Matt's name, but we'll just go with Matt because as much as I try, I'm usually off and Matt prefers Matt. So welcome Matt. How's it going today?
It's great. Yeah. It's really sunny day in Poland finally, so it's really optimistic day for us. And
Nice.
for you?
Good. And we're, let's see, 30, 20. I think like 32 degrees here in Arizona, so it's been sunny and just getting hotter and I can't wait to go someplace where it's cooler. But we're not here talking about weather. We're here talking about your class you got coming up at CPP on C, Modern C++ Idioms. And so, you know, I last year you did a coroutines class, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So, no stranger to training at CPP on C, and I know that I want to say we had a pretty decent class last year, if I recall. Um, so, what's your class about this year?
Um, yeah, last year we had really nice attendance and we talked about the coroutines, but this year we are going to scope more on the, let's say, basics, maybe a bit older stuff than coroutines, of course. Because we are going to talk about modern C++ idioms. By that, I mean all of the C++ specific patterns, practices, however you want to call it, in order to deliver your code, your tools in the also in corporation, right? It's not for library writers only. Typically, uh, those things are universal to write even small tools that you can benefit from in any production project. So basically, we're going to talk about things that are, of course, buzzwords and probably known to most guys, like array AI, right? Resource acquisition, initialization idiom, smart
Mm-hmm.
pointers, and other stuff. So starting with that, but I believe that everyone should be able to actually write things like that because everyone knows what it's about. But then when we start discussing things about the details, people are confused. Like for example, typical answer is that array AI is all about destructors and the resource is being reclaimed in the destructor. Well, it is correct, but not fully, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I then go as a consultant to different companies, I see this implementation of AI, and this basically leaks a lot because it's not easy to use and hard to abuse, right? Because people
Yeah.
forget about copy constructors, copy assignments, their semantics, and doing just a destructor is not enough to make it safe to use, right?
Right.
It works, but basically it is not easy to use and it's basically crash all over the way. So we are going to practice that, how to write correct interfaces, how to write correct array objects, both for the, let's say, copy semantics and for move only semantics. And then we are going to build on top of this with many other maybe less known type traits and idioms like empty base optimization, like um, well, many others. I'm not going to maybe talk about all of them right now, but we have plenty of them. Basically, we are going to write something like short pointer or even the smart pointer from the Andrzej Sandescu book, the old one from the famous book about modern C++ programming. So we are going to also touch things like the policy-based design,
Mm-hmm.
CRTP, accuracy recurrent parameter idiom, and many other things. So I think this would be worth to everyone to join. Of course, we're going to also talk about type erasure, which is often a great solution, but also has some performance implications. We
Yep.
are going to talk about this as well.
So when you're taking the class and building things like Smart Pointer, that kind of gets you into the building blocks so you understand more deeply what you're using, right? That's the point of trying to end up doing a task like that, correct?
Yes, of course. I will say that you should not write your own smart pointer because there is a great one, unique pointer in the library. Short pointer is not that great, so don't use it, but unique pointer is awesome. But sometimes you have to write something like a resource handle for something that is not pointer-like. Because if it is
Right.
pointer-like for example, file pointer for the POSIX interfaces, right? You can use fopen, fclose with unique pointer easily, providing some custom deleter only. But if something doesn't have a pointer semantics, then sometimes using unique pointer is awkward to in this domain. That basically the interface for the unique pointer is adjusted to work with pointers as an underlying type. If you have a resource that is not pointer like, and you have to deal with it, then you have to write it by yourself. And you have to know how to do it correctly. And then you have many choices, right? Again, you can have copy semantics like vector string, like containers do, right?
Right.
You may have move semantics, so unique ownership, like unique pointer. You may go for reference counting stuff, like shared pointer, or just say, well, it's immovable, it's non-copyable, like scoped log, for example, right? And you have to know how to implement all of those, because as I said, RAI is not only about the structure.
Gotcha. So I was looking through the syllabus that you have there, and I noticed you're going to touch on templates. Do you do a lot with templates?
Well,
and that's a lead-up
of
question
course.
because I've seen your code for your MP unit library.
Yeah, I strongly believe that there are two features that are cornerstones of modern C++. First of them is templates. Second of them is move semantics. With them, I think we can talk about modern C++. Without them, it's hard to talk about them, right? Templates give us a lot of power to provide safe-to-use code with no overhead at runtime, right? Which is awesome. Things like physical unit libraries and other stuff are great. Containers that are easy to reuse rather than writing double linked lists all the time. Actually, yeah, I had a training for embedded developers last week, and I asked them, how many times did you write double linked list by yourself in your embedded project in C? Well, and I was just counting. If you did more than 10, raise your hand. Nearly everyone raised the hands, right? C++ developers that do not know how to implement double linked list, and this is good because we don't have to do it anymore, right? Because we have templates.
Yeah.
And the second one is move semantics. Only with move semantics we actually are able to simulate proper resource handles and pass ownership correctly. Without that, it was impossible, right? We tried to auto pointer, but we know how it ended, right?
Yeah.
So I think those two are game changers, and they, in my opinion, define modern C++ as a ground for of course, because there are many other techniques you want to use.
That's, so when I started C++, well, I started C and worked my way to C++, and everything's been kind of hand learned that way. I think I joked with you once before. It's like templates scared me, because it was one of those things that when I came from it, it was more object oriented. I didn't really look at the design patterns that you could do. But I will say after a couple classes, it's like, in my opinion, at least, you gain little bits. Even if you get a lot of knowledge in the one day, you end up taking that back and then you practice with it. And, now it's like I'm using templates for dependency injection and to make my code less brittle and everything else aside from, the performance benefits that you talk about too. And so it was interesting because you were mentioning type traits, and I may have to drop in on your class because I'm still not very good at type traits. But as we were doing this, you're also giving a talk this year too on your MP units library, right?
Yeah. The development of the library basically right now is for me like 8 years probably. It's my lifetime project, my legacy for the community.
I was going to say,
right?
I saw a check-in from 2018. I know you did a talk in 19. I can't imagine just everything you've learned over that project growing too.
Yeah, first of all, it's learning. It's fun stuff. I always say, if you want to stay current as a C++ developer, if you want to learn, if you want to develop, you should not depend on your employer or your project or your production project to actually teach you all of this, because typically we cannot do it at work because of some constraints about some older environments, older compilers, older C++ versions. It's hard to stay current. I always say, you should have a pet project, right? Something fun that actually triggers you to wake up in the middle of the night and code, right? If you find this project, then you learn a lot and you stay current. And this is what MP units were for me. Also, there were a lot of inspirations for many talks and for many workshops. Also, an inspiration to write papers on changes for C++ language because, well, I found out some limitations and I talk about them during my talks and then provide papers, especially when someone will join me in this effort because, well, pushing something through the committee is not that easy by yourself, right? And even this year, I think that during my talk, I will talk about 3 or maybe 4 possible extensions to the language that could allow writing such libraries simpler and easier for everyone.
I do think
so this is interesting.
It is, and so I was going to say, I think it's really cool. I was looking at the way that basically with the format of stood chrono, being able to turn around and do calculations with kilometers and time and durations. And so I haven't got to use the library yet because I'm sitting here going, I do credit card processing. And in my mind, when I was going through it, I'm like, how can I use this library? But I think that's kind of your point, because that's where, the amount of libraries I get to touch on in my day job is really kind of limited to the scope of what I do. And so, as you said, finding a pet project to work on so that you can continue to build that education is probably an important thing for everyone.
Yeah, totally agree. And talking about your project and basically your background, actually, like 2 weeks ago, I added support for currency in my library on the version 2. So, so yeah, it's possible. And also, we are having things like affine spaces, so quantity points and differential quantities. It may be also useful, right? Like you have the state of the account is a point, and then you change it with some amount, so it's a difference type, and all of this is being provided by the library. So even if you don't have much use case for different kinds of units, different kinds of quantities, you can still define 1 or 2 quantities you're working with and benefit from things like affine space types to provide better support and safer safer coding for your projects.
I'll have to look at that more. That's interesting. But to that part, I probably just need to come take your class a bit too, so that I can, sharpen up my skills some. And so if anyone wants to take your class, that's going to be on June 27th, I believe, at Folkestone, because the classes start a day early. And then the conference runs from the 28th to the 30th. And so if you're not registered for the conference, you definitely want to go to cpponc.uk and register now. And then while you're there, you also want to register for Mateusz's class. Matt, sorry, I probably still messed up saying it. You want to register for Matt's class and pick up some extra skills the day before the conference, and then make sure to see his talk while you're there. I look forward to seeing you at the conference, Matt.
Yeah, I look forward to for everyone here. If you want to join, you are welcome. I always say there are no stupid questions. I don't bite, I promise. So come there and ask questions, because this is how you learn. And make mistakes, because this is also how you learn, right?
Yes,
We
that
cannot
is.
make mistakes at production, at work. So we are playing safe at work. Coming to workshop allows you to actually play with many new wild stuff that you cannot do at the daily work. And this is how you learn.
I agree. I'll see you at the conference, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See you there.